Okay, Tuesday afternoon. Hello. How are we? Howdy do. I'm over here. There we go. My name is Mike Bifulco. I am technical director, technically speaking, for Gymnasium. Thegymnasium.com is our website, and/or also gymnasium.com. We are a free online code school. We offer a cadre of free courses on design, development, web tools, that sort of thing. We are here to help you. And our courses are available 24/7. They are always free. They are always self-paced. They're always video-based. And I hop on live stream once a week to talk a bit about my work and to show what I'm working on. Everything I do is unscripted to a certain extent. I don't practice what I'm doing before I show you because I want you to know what it's like to learn this stuff as you go through it. That's important to me, and I think it's a good experience for the folks who are able to catch the stream. If you're watching from our homepage, welcome. If you're watching from Twitch, say hello. And this week, let's talk about what we have been working on, because I did a bit of work off stream last week, and I'm going to try and explain, or off stream since last week, I should say, and I'm going to try to explain what happened and what changes I made, which got things going here. So how am I going to explain this? It's a bit of a complicated thing, but so let me take a step back before I get into that. We are rebuilding Gymnasium's marketing page, homepage, all that stuff using React, using Gatsby, using TakeShape as a CMS, which is a programmatic CMS. And what we've been working on is slowly moving over all of the pages that you currently see on the gymnasium.com to this shell that I have done with React. So all the content that's coming from here is coming from our CMS, all these images, all of the articles on the homepage, all the little blurbs, the content for the hero, etc., etc. Last week on stream, probably about halfway through the live stream, I started working on moving over this set of components to the new version. This find work guy is a series of job listings that we offer on Gymnasium from an API that we call from our internal blah, blah, blah. And the goal was to move it from its current home, which is in another repo. It's another React application that's sort of standing on its own that we do some magic with to run in an iframe within the various pages on Gymnasium. The goal was to move it from there to within this repo, because in the future state, that's the only place it'll come into render, and it's also, we'll put all the code under one roof, and will make things lots easier for us. But what we were talking about on stream last week was, because, oh boy, how do I explain this? There's a lot going on here. Okay, so because this content here comes from an API, it is dynamic content on a static site generated page. So in other words, all of this content on the page, it comes from Gatsby, and when Gatsby renders a site, it goes and does a pre-render. It does what's called server-side rendering, where it goes and builds each and every single one of the pages URL at a time as its own individually packaged HTML, CSS, JavaScript files that live on the web server. And when you go to access a specific URL on this Gatsby site, take for example this Learn More page, if I click on this URL, this is its own pre-generated thing. And so because those are all generated at essentially what amounts to compile time when the site is being built, anything that happens dynamically needs to work differently. And so to do that, we started on stream last week with a bit of a trick, although I guess I'll call it a supported trick that the folks at Gatsby use to make this stuff happen. So let's talk through that. There's a bit of, I'll get us to the point where I bumped my head up against problems last week. I'll explain what I did to get around it, and then I will explain what needs to be done to clean it up a bit, and hopefully we can get to a point where it all makes sense. So the trick that we used to, or the technique that we used to include this thing on the page was that we made, if I go to this jobs view, oh boy, my machine is suffering right now. If I open this jobs view in its own, whatever, this is the file. Oh man, I might have to shut some things down here. Bear with me a second. Let's close down some software because my computer is freaking out. My God. Okay. Yeah, alright. Hopefully that's a little better. There's not a ton else I can shut down here. I'm coming back, never you fear. Just checking the old activity monitor here to see what's chewing up all of the processors. Force quitting a few extraneous things that I don't use day to day. Okay, let's try that. Hopefully this is a little better. So, to load this dynamic thing on the page, we did a little trick in the index for this jobs view. I guess it wasn't there. It was in this index, where we imported the jobs component, which is this one. This component we import as a loadable component using the library at loadable/component. What that does is it uses a technique from Webpack called bundling, which basically takes the bits of JavaScript that live within this jobs component, so anything that falls underneath this component. So all of the things that this imports and references get put into their own separate bit of JavaScript and HTML and all that to be included later on, and essentially aren't then statically rendered through Gatsby. So we're using that trick, I'll say, but it's not really a trick. It's the supported route to include this on the page. And what this does is it says, so I'll show you where we use it, jobs. In the jobs view. No. On the home page, I'm sorry. We have, oh boy, now I'm getting confused. Source pages index.js. This guy here is our home page. On the home page, we render a component called find work. If I go into the find work component in components, find work, this guy renders the jobs component. When we scroll down, we see that the jobs component happens to render on this page. And so what we can see right now is that there's some redundancy going on in here, and that's perfectly fine. We're going to go in and fix this and make it more generic. You can see there's a lot of layout issues right now. But if you remember last week on stream, what was happening essentially was nothing here. So we would we got to a point where this page was breaking because I was using some routing libraries that are not in use in a Gatsby site. So it was a little confusing, and I had to go and read the docs for Gatsby, and really the changes I made amounted to changing some imports from React router to Reach router, and then primarily I changed this guy here to render routes like this. So the old world had a router and then a switch and then a route with a path that looked a lot like this. Ugh. Oh my God. Right, it looks like this. Reach router works a little bit differently in that it doesn't use a switch. It uses the component themselves and passes and uses this path basically to determine which ones get rendered. So it's very similar, but it takes advantage of just standard prop passing. I don't know what we would call that. To pass this path prop into the jobs view. And so the jobs view now, I also needed to update to take all of these things, the view, the latitude, and the longitude, which use these sort of shorthand syntaxy jobs, So the component used to, I guess I can probably pull up the old view of that, or the diff or something like that, but essentially these were in as something called match in here. So this had a thing called match, and I used to do this const latitude equals match, and that match only got passed from React router-ish things. Reach router works very slightly differently, so I just needed to change where I was importing those props from. And once I did that, everything came into focus. It started to render, and it's not working perfectly, but it's working a lot better than it was, in as much as we're seeing anything on the page. So the goal here now is to make this thing a lot more flexible, and to make it render correctly, and to make it look right, and all of the things that we want to do. We're going to make a dark gray band to render it in. We're going to fix these font colors that have been off for a bit here, and we're going to get rid of this extraneous bit of text in there. So I'm going to close out all these open files, and even the bar. And we're just going to look for find work. There we go. So we've got this header that probably should go on the home page. So if I take this out and refresh it, that should disappear from there. Ooh, what's going on? Compiling. It's a little slow. It's a lot slow. What? Yeah, cool. So that's already starting to get smaller. So we do want to have that copy in there. I'm just going to be judicious about where I put it. In other words, the jobs, the find work component is where those are going to go. Just like that. Oh, and we also have some work to do to change how styling is being done on these components. Because we jumped projects, we changed the way that we're rendering CSS in the project. And so this no longer needs to be here. This can probably go like that. Anyway, what was I saying? So in the old version of the job list, you'll see that this imports just a CSS file, joblist.css, this one. And we're going to modify this to comply with our new world CSS module syntax. It's a little confusing because I'll be comparing two similar but different React projects that do the same thing that we've both done on stream. I feel like I'm doing a lot more explaining than coding, but I hope that some of this makes sense. So let's start with, we're going to make this jobs view. Nope. Oh boy. Find work. We're going to make the find work view render in a dark gray box first. All right, so let's talk about this container class. So I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to pull in the CSS module over here. And I'm going to close the bar so we don't have to stare at that any longer. We're going to give this a background color. That should help. Except for the part where it didn't, because the home page is rendered a little bit differently. Okay. Oh, what did I do? Okay, we want this thing to sort itself out. Great. So find work ideally should live in its own little island of full width. That's lovely. We can give this a background color. And then we can, within it, render a container. I don't even think it's called container. I might be. No, it is. It is. Okay, so. We're going to change that class name because it's already confusing. Let's take a look at what's going on there. There's a container fluid somewhere. Okay. We're going to add a prop to this called is full bleed, which will be is full bleed equals false. And in there, we will pass into this container. So say is full bleed. If it's full bleed, we're going to pass into this thing a margin, padding left of 0 and a padding right of 0, and otherwise we're going to do like that. And this is style and not a class. Ooh, what's going on here? Ooh. That was weird. That was very weird. But now we've got this nice full bleed page. And now our find work thing goes all the way to the edge like this. We've still got to work on that tab at the top. But now we can keep working on this thing as normal. So Already getting better. Now, we can see that there's lots of layout issues here. I'm going to start by moving over the CSS stuff to CSS modules. I think that makes good sense. Boy, there's so much open here. Hang on a second. Is there a collapse all button up here? Nice. Okay. So, in the jobs folder, we made this subcomponents folder which has all the magic in it. I'm going to start one at a time and start integrating these .css things as .module.css. And we will do likewise. And we're just going to start changing these. So import classes from joblist.module.css. And so we've got some layout work to do. So it looks like a lot of that worked. But you can see this isn't ideal. Does this work? Yeah, kinda. Something's confusing React there. That's not great. It's kinda cool. We must be missing a... I bet this is complaining about a key somewhere. Classes is defined but never used. Yeah, okay. Alright, so just going to start clearing out lots of the cruft here, and we'll get this layout back together in a minute. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do here, actually. This is in an old syntax. There's some form posting happening, which might cause a page reload in some situations, which we can work on. Got a lot of class names that appear to not be used. Okay, that's a plus. I don't know why those are swapping, but we're gonna fix those. I don't know why a lot of things here, but we're gonna make progress here. So should be a row. Should also be a row. We're going to get this thing to show up down here. To do that, we need to fix this job listing thing. Will need to be fixed. A lot of double lines happening there. We've got a lot to do here. Let's focus on what's going okay right now. So, viewing jobs in, viewing jobs in Chicago. Great. And we got our list of job listings, which I guess we can start looking at. Okay, this guy should also use our React Bootstrap. One day, Apple's going to create a Mac laptop with like 64 gigs of RAM that will be enough to stop this thing from crawling while I am streaming. Boy, come on. It's so slow right now. Let me see what I can slow down. Give me just a minute. What I can shut down, rather. Anyway, how's y'all's day going while I open up Activity Monitor for the 19th time? I bet. Oh no. Oh god, everything's crashing. I'm totally right that my laptop has decided to do something not productive right now. Okay, great. Maybe that'll be better. Oh god. How's that? Great. I actually don't even know if the stream went down just then, but the software crashed. And then it came back. And it sure looks like I'm still going here. Yeah, okay. Not even gonna sweat it. Alright. Very weird. So let's go back to this job list and just clear out all of the standard CSS from here. I think that'll be helpful. So what do I mean by that? Well, there are these guys here, which we are not, maybe not using directly in the job list. So the header, yeah, these guys actually aren't being used at all currently. If I come back, that really didn't make any difference, so that's good. So we're just trying to get rid of anything that looks like extraneous code. All right, so here we have this UL, which is really giving me some render problems that are pretty amazing right now. Oh, God. Okay. We are in a loop is what's happening there, and that's not great. Okay, all right. Well, we've got a couple of different problems to work through here. One is that there's some kind of logical error causing these things that when I go from Charlotte to Connecticut to Fukuoka to Boston, it's going to switch between lots of these things. You can see some Rhode Island and some other stuff in here. So like if I go back to Charlotte, it's now flipping between a bunch of things. Not good. So we're going to fix through that. So first, let's start by fixing the layout here. I don't know what this section bit is doing here, so I'm just going to get rid of extra markup to try and make it a little easier to read what's going on here. And we're going to see if maybe we've got a bad flexbox setup or a grid set up here, something that's not working correctly, clearly. And it may honestly just be some of these subclasses in here. It's possible that it's because of this row, looks like. So let's try that. Nope. Okay, we're getting closer. That looks nicer. This stuff is going off the left edge, which is not ideal, clearly. But we've got some room for improvement. So this row should probably have a call in it. Oh no. Well, that made one of them better. I get the impression that the ULLI bits are going to frustrate me here more than it's worth. So let's do this. And embrace our layout system. And within the job listing, which I now have access to column and row in, we can return a row and a slash row. And we'll even give it all these same class name nonsense here for the time being. We'll do a call and then a call. It's better already. We're going to have to work on some text alignment still for some reason. Oh, who has text center set? Where are we getting text center from? Feeling a little better. The layout is all kinds of out of whack still. Somewhat frustratingly, but we can work with all that. Okay, so, oh please. We're going to try and rearrange this a bit to be a little more semantically friendly. Oh, that didn't do it. I just forget the syntax because it changed between versions. Themes, layout. No, that should work. But maybe it's that I don't have these directly as a child of the row. think that's the case. That job post is a grid, which we don't want no mo. Okay, so much like I did for the last one, I need to work on the CSS for this guy. It would seem like lots of this stuff sizing issues. Let's see. It's looking somewhat better. I don't know why those underlines are going away. Okay, let's do the thing. Import classes from module.css. So we get our nice scoped classes here. Nope, 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 shoot. Okay, so Now I've got to change this guy to be actually don't know if I need this or that so much. And actually this line can go away. This one can become that. This one can become that. Okay. Now I've got to change the class name in here. It's having a hard time keeping up with me today. I'm going to have to figure out why that underline is... Yes, I thought I already did that. Gonna have to figure out why that underline is going away still, but we're already starting to come together. Okay. Again, I'm gonna get rid of some extraneous class names as they make me nervous. And hopefully the end result here is cleaner looking code all around. We're also gonna, well, this one's good. The job list needs to be factored to be more modern Reactiness. How are we doing here? Most of this looks okay. Not sure where that underline's going away. Let's see if we can figure that out. So, if I grab one of these, div class row. Oh, row class name equals row. Yep. Okay, so what I was saying is if I inspect one of these and then grab its parent row and put a hover state on it. No. It's the anchor. Hover state on the anchor. We want to see what's happening to its border bottom. Here. There we go. It's back. So that's getting better. We need to work on padding around it. Let's see what happens if we give this thing a padding. Looks nice to me. Okay. We will call that cleaned up. We're going to go to the job list. We need to give this guy some padding. It's getting messy. Oops, what did I do? I didn't want to do that. I wanted to grab this. It's not going down, which is troubling. We might have to clean that up later. Already this is looking much better, which is great to see. We should work on the React component lifecycle stuff that's going wrong here. We should attack that by, we're going to try and get rid of this extends component thing. Because if you notice, we're getting some errors here. That's cool. Jobs view. No. Match and location. I don't think get past here any longer. Okay, so there's some syntax to update here. This no longer uses match. But it does have other props that come in. All right, so let's fix that. So location gets passed in theoretically. Match is gone. But we now have latitude, longitude, market ID, and initial view. I think that's a string. Ooh, lots of errors. Rows defined but never used in job table. Okay. Oh boy, we gotta do this one too. This needs... okay. It's gonna take some time to get us there. This is what I'm concerned with. Jobs view. It's saying the search for jobs async function makes the dependencies of the use effect hook at line 65 change in every render. To fix this, wrap the search for jobs async definition into its own use callback hook. Let's read about that, because I've never done that before. Pass an inline callback and array of dependencies. Use callback will return a memoized version of the callback that only changes if one of the dependencies has changed. Lovely. Keep these alphabetized, as is my way. And what this is saying is we should I see. This is different from use effect. We want to change this guy to use callback. Oh boy, okay. Interesting. So here's what's going on. This is poorly written right now. What do I mean by that? This search for jobs async is a helper function that was used to make some logic a little simpler. It's an async call to our API, which uses a market override to fetch jobs and pass them back into the state, handle jobs loaded, which I don't need to do here either. Yeah, okay. So we're going to make this a little more synchronous and simplify some of the stuff that's going on here. And this search for jobs async will become something like a use effect. Yeah, really, it gets a lot easier if we take all of this stuff. Yeah, okay. Well, this is going to take a bit more of a refactor than I think I was ready for. what I'm doing is I'm triggering the job search by, oh boy, okay. So something like this, except this is no longer great because now that's looking for something that doesn't exist. Okay, this is confusing. I need to rewrite this in a more React friendly way. Yeah, this is not good as it stands. It's not encapsulated. Everything is spaghettied out here. I can see how it got to where it is, but it's not what we want. So I'm going to undo a lot of this stuff, and I'll walk through it step at a time. We'll do this like we were doing it fresh, and I'll explain. Use callback, use effect, use state. I'll explain what I'm doing as I go. So what we want to do is, I'm just going to give myself some space here so we know where the new code is. So we're going to have an effect here, use effect, which will do something, that's this, based on the following changes. So if the market changes, meaning they've selected something else from the dropdown, so if the market changes, then we need to update this list. Oh boy, did it scroll? Yeah, okay. So what this is going to do is search for jobs when market changes. And in here, we're going to say, so that's how we got here. Maybe const jobs found equals 08 fetch jobs if market and market.id. We'll do that. So we know we need an ID there. We also have this market override, which comes in sometimes this thing gets past a new market. So we're doing too many things at once. And that's why we get this market override here. Okay, that's cool. So I was combining, this would work before hooks were a thing, and it makes sense that it was there, but because now we have hooks that can fire something when something changes, we don't need to do this override nonsense. So that's good. So we're going to search for jobs nope, we're going to fetch jobs based on the market ID, and what are options? Options, got it. Okay, cool. And options. And so I think I can do that. Maybe we should just do this. All right. And after we find the jobs, we're going to do a set state. And it's not even a set state, it's set jobs. And set loading false. And that should do. So now we want to get rid of all of this stuff. And this, instead of being called refresh job list, it's going to be request market change. Actually, we're going to call it on request market change because that makes more sense. And here on request market change, we're just going to do set market market, just like that. And actually, we don't even need to do that. We can use shorthand. What's the problem there? We'll do the same thing for here. What just happened? I worry that I'm confusing things here. The goal basically is to make it so that the parent view manages the state for the jobs, the market, and all that other stuff, and the other things just display and request changes to state. That was a bug. This is extraneous, it looks like. And so we can do that. And we'll just drop this into here. There. Save that. Do that. Save that. Okay. What do we got? I'm sure I broke everything. Use effect await cannot use keyword await outside of async function. That is in jobs view. Let's see. So Looks like you wrote use effect async or return to promise. Instead, write the async function inside of your effect and call it immediately. I see. Okay. Use effect async function. Wait, jobs. And we're just going to say go get jobs. So you can see there's a bit of a cascade happening of things getting more and less complicated, but we appear to have gotten rid of all the problems there. This might even work a little better. Or not at all? Okay. We're going to have to work on that. Shoot. Marker prop string supplied to job listing expected object. Ah. Okay, I'm definitely going down the rabbit hole here. Let's attach a listener to the market drop down change. So in the job list, in the on market changed, on request market change. So where we render the job list in jobs view, my God. I see. Did that work? Yes, no. Okay, cool. Well, no, in fact, I did have it right before. Okay, well, I'm kind of spinning in circles here. I might end the stream for the day here while I go and debug this further. This is going to be a lot of console logging and breakpointing. But we can also pick this up later in the week too. For now, what happens if I change this? Yeah, I don't know. Let's call it here. I'll get back to. I'm gonna suss this out on my own, and we'll pick this up next week. Yeah, thanks for hanging out on the stream. I will get through this debuggery and pick apart my brain in short order and tweak something to the effect of what I found here. Thanks for hanging out on the stream today. I'll be back next Tuesday afternoon at the same time, same place. You know where to find me in the meantime on Twitter and Twitch, and I will see you in a week. Take care, everyone.